For hundreds, if not thousands of years, people have looked up to the sky and witnessed bright, fast-moving objects that completely defy explanation. And on occasion, these objects come crashing down to Earth.
They heard a loud explosion.
Here's something happening here.
Fireball?
Spears of light.
According to Mexican intelligence reports, 2 alleged UFO incidents, remarkably similar in nature but separated by 33 years, took place in remote corners of Mexico. Both sites were immediately sealed off and scoured by the military, who then denied anything unusual had happened. And most intriguingly, UFO evidence reportedly remains at both crash sites.
Did you find it?
Yeah, it's over here.
No way.
There is the proof that something happened here.
This is what ufologists want.
Is there a rational explanation? Or could these crash sites hold the key to unlocking the UFO mystery?
Some people are really afraid to talk about this case.
From first-hand accounts of a sphere-like fireball crashing to the Earth,
Strange balls of light.
It hit the tree limbs and it's causing a fire.
to tracking an alleged downed UFO,
We've discovered wreckage of a plane that crashed with a UFO.
to analyzing evidence of a real crash site,
We've had extraterrestrial contact.
and scientific experiments to separate fact from fiction.
That's a lot of current that would kill you instantly.
What you are about to see is case number 74012, UFO Crash and Retrieval. On August 20th, 2007, at 4 o'clock in the morning, a strange noise in the sky sends frightened residents of Xilitla, Mexico, running out in the streets. Clearly outlined against the dawn sky, a fiery sphere-shaped craft blazes over the village and crashes into a nearby grove of trees. Some witnesses notice the mysterious object changed speed and direction, as if it were being flown, like an airplane. The sheer number of eyewitnesses and the object's strange trajectory make the case compelling to the team. Interestingly, this 2007 event at Xilitla mirrors a 1974 UFO crash near Coyame, 675 miles to the northwest. Like the Xilitla incident, the unknown object at Coyame was reported to be traveling under intelligent control at supersonic speeds until it collided with a small civilian plane. Both craft crashed to the desert below. Today, this reported crash site is known as Mexico's Roswell.
We just got a phenomenal email from Victor Camacho, one of the top news guys down in Mexico. We have the chance to be the first UFO investigators on a brand new case. A fireball came from a UFO, at least this is what the villagers are saying, bounced off a bunch of trees and might have left some residue. They wrote a report on this case, and this report went all the way up the ladder to police intelligence. And we have a chance to interview the actual intelligence officer for the Central Mexico Police who took the report and brought it all the way to Mexico's Pentagon.
Sounds like we have a little adventure on our hands.
We do, and the person who put us in touch with him is Ruben Urarte. Now, Ruben is really an expert in the way these whole cases are covered up. And so there's a relationship here between this case in Xilitla and Ruben's big case, which is Mexico's Roswell. You have the possible collision between a UFO and a small plane. Ruben says that he can probably get us to, because he thinks he's found it, the actual crash site.
If there's an alleged UFO collision with a private aircraft, we might actually find samples or artifacts from the plane and or the unidentified object.
These are two really fantastic cases. I need you guys to roll on the gear. We're going to crack this case wide open.
Xilitla, Mexico is a mountain town 136 miles north of Mexico City, 90 miles inland from the Gulf of Mexico. On their way there, The team meets Ruben Uriarte, an expert on UFO cases in Mexico and the American Southwest.
This area here, a lot of UFO sightings have been reported over the years.
Also joining the team is UFO researcher Ronnie Milion. At 4 o'clock in the morning, a glowing red-yellow sphere-shaped fireball, approximately 7 feet in diameter, flew in from the west and crashed into a grove of lemon and coffee trees. Eyewitnesses called the police, and by 4:30 the entire area was locked down. Police officers were sworn to secrecy. But one police intelligence officer who investigated the crash is now willing to talk about the incident.
Victor, this is really serious stuff we're talking about, and it could not be seen in public.
They prefer not to be seen in public.
Victor Camacho is a radio host and UFO researcher. He and Ruben Uriarte have ensured the officer's anonymity. Due to the sensitive nature of his testimony, the police intelligence officer insisted that his face be electronically disguised and that the interview be held in a remote sugarcane field far from any observers.
So you took the initial report, is that true?
Sí.
What happened after you took the initial report?
I received the report on August the 19th. There were unidentified objects that had fallen. There are ongoing reports of strange objects in this area. Balls of fire.
Fire? I heard balls of fire.
Balls of fire are not uncommon in this part of the world. On February 8, 1969, a blue-white fireball streaked across the sky and landed near the village of Pueblo de Allende. But a meteorite leaves a crater, and as the eyewitness reports state, no crater or debris field was left behind. Meteorites also fall straight down to the earth. They cannot change course or zigzag, nor do the police seal off the area afterward.
After you filed the reports, what happened next?
I made a report and it went to Sedena.
Sedena is an acronym for the Secretariat of National Defense, the top level of the Mexican military. All other security and police forces report to Sedena. On March 5, 2004, a Mexican Air Force plane searching for illegal drug smugglers using an infrared camera videotaped 11 objects flying 2 miles over Ciudad del Carmen in the state of Campeche. Although the objects were invisible to the aircrew, they were picked up on the plane's radar. The objects surrounded the plane briefly before vanishing at high speed. This sighting was verified and released to the media by Sedena.
Once Sedena gets involved, the local police no longer have access to investigate that particular event because Sedena has come in. They want to secure the area like they're securing a crime scene, and they freeze the scene so they can conduct their own forensics on the operation.
Sí.
This story went right to the Mexican military, and not just the military, right to the top of Mexico's police intelligence. Look at how brave these guys are. It's astounding. These guys are speaking out on a top secret Mexican intelligence UFO investigation. I've got to get more information on this.
This phenomenon is very common in this area.
Antonio Martinez Chavez is the deputy editor of El Mañana de Valles, the local area newspaper. The Gilitla police called him the morning after the incident. He believes that the police at that time believed a UFO had crashed. He immediately sent Maribú Villalobos, the local beat reporter, to cover the event.
On the morning of the 20th, I received a report that came from the city of Gilitla. A ball of fire fell.
A fire.
Another ball of fire.
A ball of fire fell and exploded into the treetops. A witness reported it to the authorities, and when they got there, they just found ashes.
So they found ashes instead of metal fragments.
One of the investigators took some of the ashes.
You could tell us where this person can be found. Well, let's try and find him, and let's try and see the ashes.
According to Martinez, the object threw off long ribbon-like coils of ash as it passed overhead, which were collected and preserved. Physical evidence originating from a UFO is extremely rare. This news suddenly gives this case special importance.
I've got 2 phenomenal sources. One source, police intelligence officers. The other source is a local reporter who actually picked up this case, whatever it is, UFO, whatever, and she's following it.
All right.
The reporter gave us witnesses. Pat, that's your job. Hunt down the witnesses. We have the names, interview them, come back to me with the story. Okay. Ronnie, the reporter said there was actual debris that came from the object's impact. Get that evidence back.
Absolutely.
Analyze the evidence.
This is an amazing case of a fireball crashing. Ronnie's going to take a look at the actual crash site while I go interview the witnesses.
Will the witness testimony lead the team to any physical evidence?
I saw ashes.
Ashes. The ashes.
On August 20th, 2007, a red-orange fireball reportedly performing impossible maneuvers in the sky crashes in Xilitla, Mexico. The team has traveled to this small mountain town to visit the crash site.
This case is really amazing. We have a fireball crashing. Ronnie's going to take a look at the actual crash site while I go interview the witnesses. Hey, Ruben, these people live right across the street. I want to find out if they saw anything.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I speak about 2 words of Spanish.
Okay.
Maybe you can help me out here.
Okay.
Did he see this thing?
Ahí.
Okay, he saw it right above the trees. ¿Dónde, señor?
Was he standing here?
¿Dónde?
Sí.
Joaquin Castillo Rubio lives directly across the street from where the object fell.
Tell us what direction it came from?
Esta dirección, no sé qué es.
It came from that direction toward this direction here. It hit the tree limbs, and it's caused like a fire.
According to Rubio, the object was approximately 7 feet in diameter and was engulfed in flames.
Sentía miedillo.
Yes, I felt frightened when I saw this.
Algo raro.
It was very rare
Extraño.
for me, very strange to see this.
But Rubio isn't the only witness. Pat interviews Saturina Gonzalez, who had an even better view of the incident.
Bueno, yo al abrir la puerta
I looked up. I saw like a ball of light.
y salía una flamita como.
It looked like there were some flames that were coming out.
Y me di la vuelta y le hablé a mi esposo.
Then I turned around and called my husband, and they start calling. The 911, the law enforcement started arriving. Said the radios didn't turned off. The radios, the police officers, their radios didn't work.
The police officers' radios didn't work.
Approximately 20 minutes they were without any communication.
From approximately 4:30 to 4:50 a.m., 30 minutes after the crash, the entire area was under complete radio silence and lost all power. Even the battery-powered police radios were reportedly unable to receive or transmit a signal.
Lo que pasa es de que...
I was sleeping. He says, I hear a very strange noise. This roofing started vibrating and he could hear the noise.
Have you ever experienced that kind of trembling before?
No.
What did it sound like?
La nave.
I saw like a small object.
Nave, o sea, pequeña.
A small ship. Maybe it was a UFO.
Kind of going through the checklist of what it was not. I think we can pretty much eliminate that it was lightning. Lightning doesn't float around in the trees. It wasn't fireworks. There was no festival going on. What else would really hover around and knock out police communication like that and have that kind of effect? Maybe looking at a UFO incident here.
Ronnie inspects the crash site, searching for any physical traces of the object.
According to the eyewitnesses, the object ricocheted from one tree to the other tree.
The first impact, and then goes up there.
If there's any residue from this object, I'm going to check that there is no abundance of radioactivity. Normal signs.
Normal signs.
Ronnie's Geiger counter shows that the site isn't radioactive, eliminating the possibility that the fireball was powered by some sort of nuclear fuel.
I'm going to take soil samples, bark, fruit that's here, so take advantage of everything.
Ronnie collects samples from the site, while Bill and Pat hunt down the most important piece of confirmed evidence, the ashes the craft supposedly left behind.
Cenizas. Then I saw ashes, long ashes. They were about that length.
These were long ashes.
Ashes.
Cenizas.
We all know what we've got to get, right?
Right.
The ashes.
Maria Luz collected the ashes. She's a local reporter.
We should go talk to her about the long ashes.
Bill interviews Maribel Villalobos, the beat reporter sent to the crash site. She actually saw and handled the ribbon-like ashes, which did not disintegrate when touched.
Can you describe the ashes to me? Anything special?
It was about 2 centimeters wide, a black and gray matter. It was somewhat hard. It didn't just crumble. It had a hard surface.
Can you tell me where you took the ashes?
I gave them to Mr. Carlos Arellano.
Es policía, ¿verdad? Yeah, he's a police officer.
We are one single phone call away from getting actual debris, ashes, that might have fallen out of a UFO. I'm going to call Carlos Arellano right now to get those ashes. Can I speak to Carlos Arellano, please?
Although Arellano was unavailable for an interview, he agreed to send the ashes back with the team.
We think that a chemical analysis of the composition of the ashes will reveal something about what the nature of that fireball was.
The team heads to Ventura, California, to Capco Analysis Systems with the ash sample from Xilitla.
We brought here the ash sample, and we've asked the scientists here at Capco if they can analyze these and just give us a quantitative summary of what the composition is of all of these samples.
The scientists at Capco are testing the ash sample using gas chromatography and mass spectroscopy. Both of these tests break the sample apart in order to analyze its makeup. What makes this sample more difficult is that only a small amount of ash was able to be recovered. The scientists are testing for sulfur and silicon, two elements common in meteorites and space debris.
But we got some sulfur here. Our detection limit is 10,000. And the amount of sulfur we find there is 19,000.
Although the sample was 1/1000th the size of the standard sample, it contains twice the amount of sulfur as the control. An elevated sulfur level is indicative of fire. However, because of the limited sample size, the results are still inconclusive. The team now heads to the lab of experiments producer John Tyndall, who will attempt to recreate the ashes from Xilitla.
Now, I don't know what happened down in Mexico, but if it knocked out radios, as they say it did for 20 minutes to an hour, that's some sort of a large EMP event, almost on the order of an atomic weapon.
I think what's really important here, Pat, are the ashes, because that's what the villagers said they saw, and that's what stands out in all the witness descriptions.
So the ashes weren't enough of a piece to actually gather up. They were intact.
Correct.
Because the ashes did not disintegrate, the team has to consider that they may be some sort of wiring or something electrical in nature.
So if your alien spaceship had some sort of problems and boom, blew apart, there could be coils and windings and things disintegrating and coming down, showering down and leaving strange ashes.
Another theory is that whatever the envelope is around the UFO that allows it to navigate through the atmosphere, that envelope creates its own EMP effect.
Basically, an EMP event is a very strong electromagnetic pulse. And what we've done in this experiment is created an extremely strong electromagnetic pulse. It's instantaneous. It disintegrates the wire, and it releases 10,000 volts at 200 amps. It would kill you instantly. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this lots of current, shoot it across the wire, disintegrate wire, and create an EMP event.
The team is testing to see if an EMP event could disrupt radio reception as well as turn ribbon-like wiring to ash. John has connected a 27,000-volt power supply to a 32-gauge nickel-coated copper wire.
That's a lot of current. That would kill you instantly. Okay, here we go. This needs to charge for about 10 seconds. Okay, and here we go. And 3, 2, 1. What do you think of that, Bill?
Wow. It's certainly a long string of ashes, that's for sure.
Totally vaporized the copper and the nickel in that wire. And plus, large thermal signature, large electromagnetic signature. A lot going on there.
When we started this investigation, interviewing the witnesses, nobody knew what could have caused that string of ashes. It was a real big mystery in the village. The police didn't know. They wrote up reports. The intelligence officer said he didn't know. But at least now we have one plausible explanation for what might have been the cause of those ashes, and it could have been a UFO scenario. So I think with this, we really have the ability to start working on this case in such a way that, yeah, maybe we can find more information.
Has the team found the crash site?
It looks like something over here, Bill.
Of Mexico's Roswell.
Did you find it?
Yeah, it's over here.
No way.
As the team from UFO magazine researches the 2007 case, the reported UFO crash in Xilitla, Mexico, they notice similarities with another case from 1974. Coyame, 675 miles to the north, is home to a case so puzzling that it is known as Mexico's Roswell.
There's a link between 1974 and 2007. In 1974, the UFO crashed over Coyame. In 2007, a UFO dropped a burning fireball over the village in Xilitla. In both cases, the police and the military covered up the crashes. We're going to find the debris in Coyame, and we'll find the link between Xilitlan and Mexico's Roswell.
UFO expert Ruben Uriarte gives the team the hottest lead ever in this case.
The two sites we'll be going out to visit, one of them is an actual airplane debris field from a small airplane that crashed in the desert near here.
We just got a big break in this case. Ruben Uriarte found the location of the downed plane in the Coyame Desert. We may find evidence of UFO contact, or, who knows, we may find an actual piece of the UFO itself.
Coyame is a small city with approximately 30,000 people, 120 miles from the Gulf of Mexico and only 40 miles from the Texas border. Coyame sits in the Chihuahuan Desert, the same desert that surrounds Roswell, New Mexico.
We're on our way to Coyame now to look at the UFO crash site.
At 10 p.m., August 25, 1974, strategic defense installations across Texas are allegedly put on high alert when radar detects an unidentified craft. What is particularly alarming was the reported speed at which the object is traveling. It reportedly clocks in at 2,500 miles per hour. A typical commercial jet travels between 500 and 600 miles per hour. The top speed of an F-15 fighter, one of the fastest jets in the sky, is Mach 2.5, or approximately 1,400 miles per hour. The unknown object is tracked across the Gulf of Mexico, heading toward the southern border of the United States. Suddenly, the object veers 90 degrees to the left and begins paralleling the Texas coastline. At the same time, unaware that anything unusual was going on in the skies overhead, a small civilian airplane takes off from El Paso, heading for Mexico City. The weather was perfect. There was no reason to expect that this would be anything but a normal, eventless flight. The object over the Gulf makes another impossibly sharp turn, this time to the right, and enters Mexican airspace. Heading inland over the desolate backlands of Chihuahua, Mexico, the U.S. defense technicians reportedly see the unknown object suddenly disappear from their screens just outside the small Mexican city of Coyame. Moments later, Mexican Civil Air Control reports that a small plane had just crashed in the Chihuahuan Desert.
I was speaking to some of the local town people. The flight path of the UFO would have been from the south, which is Brownsville, Texas, coming over, swinging over, going northeast, over that mountain peak there.
The impact site is on the other side of that mountain.
The other side of that mountain.
Let's get to the site. It's going to be a long day.
You got it. Looks like probably that way.
Man, it's amazing how all of this terrain looks similar.
Noe Torres co-authored the book Mexico's Roswell with Ruben Uriarte. The two men visited this site extensively while researching their book.
Ruben and Noe are going down to find the wreckage.
The team is searching a 1 mile by 1 mile area, hoping to find evidence of a UFO collision.
You guys see anything?
We've got 3 issues. Where is it? whether it's been eroded by wind over the years and rain, and whether the site's not been completely scavenged by local people looking for artifacts.
Say another 1.5 kilometers up.
Meaning we have to go that way.
Looks like something over here.
Where is it, Noe?
Right up ahead. There's stuff all over the place.
Did you find it?
It's over here.
Where? Over there?
Right here. Right here.
The team has located part of the wreckage, much of which may not have been seen for over 34 years.
It's the whole rudder assembly.
Look at all the casing over here.
Look at the glass. It's this windshield.
The debris field covers approximately 10,000 square feet. The team has located wreckage at several points, including what appears to be the rudder assembly of a plane.
Well, we've discovered wreckage of a plane that's strewn about out here in the desert. It could be the plane that crashed with the UFO. I can't really know that until we analyze this and find something anomalous on it, maybe some kind of radioactivity or something that would give us a clue that maybe there was some contact with the UFO.
There must be things all around here, Pat. So what do you think?
I'm excited that we finally have something hard and tangible to work with. I mean, it's one thing to read about UFO crashes in a book and say, well, okay, maybe this happened. But when you finally get out here and you see that there's actually something to work with, we've actually got metal to analyze and we've got soil to sample, it's exciting. This is what ufologists want. For answers, this is where you want to be. You want to be actually in the field with your hands on some artifacts that may indicate that we've had extraterrestrial contact.
There it is, right there in the sand. There is the wreckage. There is the proof that something happened here where you said it should be.
Right now, the trick is going to be working with this debris and seeing if we can get some kind of story of what actually happened. Well, this crash occurred over 3 decades ago, correct?
Yes.
And this site
it's a wonder that there's anything left at all, really.
My thought is that this site was scrubbed pretty clean by the group that scrubbed it, whether it was the Mexican military 33 years ago, whether it was the U.S. military, we don't know. But the site was scrubbed pretty clean, but we found enough pieces that we can identify.
We have a really interesting piece over here, guys. Looks like part of the hydraulics from the plane.
This is a hydraulic connector right here. So you've got a line coming in, right? Then you've got various pressure bolts on here. We've found a piece of the tail section. We found the fuel filter, various hydraulic lines, windshield. It's not a motor vehicle. It's not a motorcycle. It's a plane. The trick is going to be, what does the analysis of the wreckage tell us about what hit the plane? I mean, we know there's plane wreckage. We see windshield, we see parts of a plane, we see melted aluminum.
But no UFO.
But it says nothing about the UFO.
Right. In the case of Roswell, you had a lot of ranchers, you had actual military people stepping forward and describing what they saw. The problem with this case is we've got physical evidence to hold on to, but we don't have anyone to talk to. There aren't any military witnesses stepping forward. There don't seem to be any ranchers out here to tell us what they saw, and that's the problem. It could be that this actually was a UFO incident, but we basically need more solid leads to really solve this case.
We're gonna see that.
And there I go. Right on top of an object now.
The team has finally found possible evidence of the fatal collision between a plane and a possible UFO.
This is really a very important finding.
Does this twisted piece of metal contain the proof?
I'm thrilled. This is a major find.
While searching the desert near Coyame, Mexico,
Did you find it?
Yeah, it's over here.
the team may have discovered the debris field created by the 1974 collision of a private plane and a possible unidentified object.
Hey, Ronnie, you finding stuff over here?
This is really a very important finding.
Using a metal detector, Ronnie has found a piece of wreckage that looks like melted metal, with no recognizable shape. It may be the result of two metals fusing into one.
Suddenly, we've gone from a theoretical crash to working with actual physical debris that we can work with.
Remember, that piece in itself could be an example of this theory of transference, right? Locard's theory of transference, yes, in which two metallic elements hit, melt, fuse.
According to Locard's exchange principle, whenever two objects come into contact, a transfer of material will always occur. Is it possible that the force of the collision between the two craft, combined with the unknown forces surrounding the object, created an explosion so hot that metal from the plane fused with extraterrestrial material from the UFO?
I can't classify it with the discriminator. It's saying between zinc, copper. It's really giving me an unknown indication exactly what this is. There might be some other mixed elements in here, so this is a very important thing to bring back, get some metal analysis on this.
Now, did the metal melt from the kinetic heat of an impact with a UFO? Did the metal melt because the plane hit the mountain over there and kind of bounced down and exploded? These are the things we don't know and can't really tell from the site.
What's fascinating to me is that this site is so close to the Zona de Silencio, which fringes this area as well, and the strange craft that was involved in the 74 incident overflew part of the Zone of Silence.
According to reports, the UFO flew from the southwest toward Texas and through the Zone of Silence, a circle of roughly 300 square kilometers, centered near the junctures of the states of Durango, Coahuila, and Chihuahua. It gets its name because it is believed that radio and television waves are sporadically silenced here for no reason. What's fascinating about this area is that the reported unidentified object seen in Xilitla in 2007 also flew over the Zone of Silence before making a sharp turn toward Xilitla. What is it about this area that causes it to have such an effect on these objects?
It's noted for its anomalous activity, UFO sightings, apparitions, and it's considered as Mexico's Bermuda Triangle.
The zone is an area with a long history of physical and magnetic anomalies. Compasses have been reported to go haywire and swing wildly, which can fatally affect aircraft guidance systems. In the middle of this isolated desert is an unusual site.
Why would there be a structure here?
One thing we noticed right away, that the whole area is marked off by a circle of blackened earth.
The area is marked off by a circle of darkened earth, approximately 20 feet in diameter.
This is a big deal?
Careful, don't go too close yet.
Well, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just know that this soil is so suspicious.
But guys, with all due respect, the hole doesn't seem that mysterious to me. And I know that, I hate to be the party pooper here, but it looks to me like somebody may have been digging a well or a pit for burning garbage.
Even though everybody in this small community knows everybody else and they keep track of everything in the area, nobody had an explanation for how this pit got here, what its origin was, what it may have been used for. It's a total mystery to everybody here. And another part of this mystery is that the villagers told us that the military specifically warned them to stay away from this area that's demarked by this fence, stay away and just don't mess with it.
The fenced region around the pit has an area of approximately 4,000 square feet. Why this remote area, 5 miles away from Coyame, would be fenced off is not known. The team breaks the area down into quadrants and searches for any signs of debris.
There's a lid. It looks like a...
well, 55-gallon drum or something.
That's a clue. But I'm noticing other bits and pieces of metal like this.
If the military had an expedition out here, they would have definitely brought their own fuel with them because there's no gas station near here. We found chain drives for maybe a drilling mechanism. We found welded parts. The other thing we found are oil drums. So somebody transported oil, petroleum, or some explosive material to this site.
Could it be that, like the 2007 crash in Xilitla, the Mexican military was immediately called in to collect, gather, and destroy any and all evidence of this incident?
Pulling up some circular metal objects here.
Look at this. They're all like drum covers. You notice? Look at this.
Yeah. There's something right over there, a white, I don't know what that is, I didn't want to touch it.
Oh, you know what? It could be for a light some kind of light fixture. In other words, if you have the bulb assembly.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's say this was a site they came to and they actually strung lights at night. The hole that we found is not simply a hole in the ground. It's a drilled hole. So this is a site where some kind of burial or explosive operation, some kind of incendiary operation took place to get rid of evidence and bury evidence. It looks kind of like a bomb crater or one of these nuclear explosion sites where it explodes and the ground collapses and there's a kind of a crater. That's what it looks like to me just walking up to it.
According to Noe and Rubin's book, Mexico's Roswell, quote, "The presence of this deadly agent motivated a U.S. military task force to rush into Mexico and set off an incendiary device, possibly nuclear, to prevent any further spread of the problem." The U.S. did indeed have backpack nuclear weapons in the 1970s. The W-54 suitcase nuke ranged in power from 1 to 10 kilotons. This smaller explosion may have been used to eliminate a, quote, "lethal biological agent." According to Noe and Rubin, citizens of Coyame were warned for years after the 1974 event to stay away from this area due to high levels of radiation. What exactly happened here?
I'm going to sweep slowly.
Ronnie tests for radioactivity in the pit using a Geiger counter. The Geiger counter measures the number of radioactive particles being emitted by a sample in counts per minute, or CPM.
Just about 15 CPMs.
The Earth itself emits a background radiation of approximately 15 CPM.
No sign of any radioactivity. Looks like we're radioactive dead. In other words, it's just normal. Oh, hold on a second.
Wait, something.
Hang on. That increased rapidly. Hang on.
Wow.
The radiation level jumped to over 100 counts per minute, 8 times the normal level, indicating radioactive material may have been in this immediate vicinity.
Well, I still have a lot of questions about what this hole might be, but I have to admit it's unusual.
When you come upon a site that potentially contains the wreckage of a plane that crashed with a UFO that the military scrubbed clean, and yet on the site are potentially little pieces of forensic evidence that may reveal substances other than simply what would have been on that plane. So for us, I'm thrilled. This is a major find.
The plane debris and the radioactive samples taken from the mysterious pit in the Chihuahuan Desert are sent to the lab to test for trace evidence of UFOs.
We do know that something happened there.
Will testing in the lab finally help solve the case of Mexico's Roswell? The team has gathered samples from a reported UFO crash site near Coyame, Mexico.
What is this?
They are now headed back to the laboratories at Capco Analysis Systems in Ventura, California.
So the team had collected 4 samples, one of which is a control sample, and the other 3 are closer to this mysterious hole. We're going to test these samples for a variety of known compounds, organic and semi-volatiles.
The team meets Alan Repedy, an analysis technician who ran a number of tests on samples gathered near the reported burial site.
When we were at Coyame out in the desert, we took a series of samples radiating out from what we think was the site of the explosion. I know you ran some tests on those. What did you find out?
The organic site basically implied that analysis using a gas chromatography, a mass spectroscopy instrument. The purpose being to identify all the semi-volatile compounds potentially present in those samples.
Alan is testing 4 samples collected from different distances around the mysterious pit near Coyame. The sample areas start at the furthest distance from the center point. Sample A is the control, and sample D was taken from inside the hole itself. Alan is scanning for the presence of VOCs, volatile organic compounds. VOCs are defined by the Environmental Protection Agency as chemical compounds that easily vaporize into the atmosphere. These include methane, formaldehyde, and many common household chemicals. Identifying the VOCs will help to define the chemical makeup of the sample.
In your sample, sample A and sample B are completely clean samples. You know, there is really nothing in it. However, in the other two, C and D, we found a slight trace of hydrocarbons, basically, petroleum products, which we kind of define, looking at the chromatogram, as motor oil. Again, it's not too much, but enough to show us some positive, some hits.
Which is funny because where that sample came from, C and D, they were getting closer to the actual mine shaft, where, as the story goes, the United States Army blew up some debris right around that mine shaft. We found a few petroleum containers there.
The soil samples from Kwame did have some kind of semi-volatile compound in them. Although we can't draw specific conclusions, we do know that something happened there that may have involved some kind of explosion or incendiary process. All of this supports the possibility that there may have been some sort of military activity there and therefore some sort of military cover-up.
Almost as though there was petroleum stored in there which either reached out and went to the top or was actually exploded, and we don't know. There's a link here between the two cases, the crash at Koyami and what really happened in the village of Halitla. So what did the test show, Jeff?
Well, the test shows the petroleum or a benzene substance was more in concentration in a specific area, which was the D sample.
D. The hole had the highest concentration, right, of petroleum-based products. In the hole itself, which is what struck me, was that the soil itself was basically dark. It's almost as though something in the hole threw something dark into the soil. And so the closer to the top, the lighter the soil became.
It sounds like perhaps an explosion.
That's what it looked like to me.
Which may have involved some volatiles or semi-volatiles. When we measured, we detect some very trace amounts there. May have done something thermally to the soil or added some chemical composition to the soil as it threw the soil out, which would be consistent with the idea that what it had thrown settled on the top of the surface away from the hole, but in the hole it could have been driven into the walls of the hole.
Okay, so I think we can debate Koyami ad infinitum until we get more information. We know there's smoke, we need to find the fire. Let's turn our attention to Halitla, because here's a case where we actually have a current case, right? It was April 2007. We were able to get a minute sample of the ash that was the residue from this fireball.
Why couldn't we bring more sample? Why do we have just a tiny amount?
There were large amounts of samples that the villagers themselves collected. The police came in and confiscated the whole mess of it, except for a very small amount. Now that we were able to get into this country.
The fact that the Mexican authorities confiscated all these samples, what does that mean?
Now you're coming over to my side of the table. What you've got is, one, why would the Mexican authorities make it such a high priority to roll in immediately, take the soil and go? Why were we followed by police and military as we went to the location? We have evidence of something.
From collecting ash from the reported Halitla crash of 2007 to finding a darkened earth area near Mexico's Roswell, the team has gained insight into one of the world's most active regions for UFO reports. And although the samples proved inconclusive, the number of sightings and the government's response to these events shows there may be more going on in Mexico than the public is allowed to know.